All aboard. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be or watching me from. My name is Mazi Chijoke Onobogu. We have a video to show you. It's in 4 segments. The first one, second, third, and the fourth. The grand finale is the fourth. When you watch this, think Biafra. Think the leadership. Think where we're going. Watch it. Listen. Think Biafra when you're watching this. Put it in Biafra context. Watch.
Now you may be at your wit's end, you may be frustrated, but just touch your neighbor and say, God's got a plan. You may be seated. I've been talking to you to the singles about before you marry. I've been talking to the married people about before you give up, before you divorce, before you throw in the towel. There's some things that we need to understand and think about. And today I'm going to be talking about before you take the lead. We're always praying for increase. But before you reach out and take the increase, there are some things you need to know. John Quincy Adams said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and become more, then you are a leader. You don't need a title. You don't have to have an office. You don't have to have recognition. But if your actions inspire others to dream more, to do more, and to become more, then John Quincy Adams says you are, in fact, a leader. How many people know you're inspirational? I want to share some things just briefly out of the Gospel of St. Luke chapter 5, verse 1 through 11. I'm going to use it as a jumping off point to jump into a much broader issue, but I'm going to illustrate something here that I think is worth mentioning. The Gospel of St. Luke chapter 5, verse 1 through 11. And it came to pass that as the people pressed upon him to hear the word of God, he stood by the lake of Gennesaret and saw 2 ships standing by the lake, but the fishermen were gone out of them. They were washing their nets. He entered into one of the ships, which was Simon's, and prayed him that he would thrust out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the people out of the ship. He sat down and taught the people out of the ship. Now, when he had left speaking, he said unto Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a drought. Now, you have to understand, Simon at this point is not even a disciple. He's a businessman. He owns a fishing company, and he was washing his nets because he thought, there's not going to be any more for me. I'm at my wit's end. This is it for me, and I'll let this little preacher use my boat because I'm not catching anything. And he's washing his nets. He's finished. Jesus now says, because you let me use what you have, I'm going to increase what you have. Now when he had left speaking, he said to Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a drought. Now it takes faith, first of all, for Simon, who has washed his nets and thought that his day was over, to go back out there again. It takes faith after failure to try again. Just when you have decided in your own mind, I have gone as far as I'm going to go. And maybe it's not meant for me to catch anything. Maybe it's not meant for me to get married. Maybe it's not meant for me to move up any higher. Maybe it's not meant for me to have this position. He's washing his nets. And now the challenge comes, try it again. Some of you are flunking because you're still washing your nets when the word is saying, try it again. And Simon answered and said unto him, Master, we've toiled all night and we've taken nothing. Preacher, you might know something about the word. You don't know anything about fishing. You were raised by a carpenter. What do you know about fishing? He said, but nevertheless at thy word, I will let down the net. And when they had done this, they enclosed a what? A great multitude of fish. Can you believe that God's got something great for you at a time you were washing your nets? It's amazing how you can go from failure into a massive release of blessing. And it was so much that the Bible says their nets begin to break. And they beckon unto their partners. When God blesses you, take somebody with you, which were in the other ships, that they should come and help them. And they came and filled both the ships so that they began to sink. Even the partners couldn't withstand the blessing and the release that was coming on them. See, this is a shouting spot right there. Because they went from failing and sinking and washing the nets one moment to such a blessing and a release that even the partners' boats began to sink because of the mess. I say that, now I don't say that for the people who are on their way. I say it for the people who have lost their homes or lost your job or had to move back in with your mother, or you had to get a used car from the garage place somewhere and you got Maypop tires, may pop at any moment, and you're sitting around thinking that your life is over. There are some things that God can teach you that can get you back in the game again. Not only restore what you lost, but pull you out more than what you have prepared to be able to receive. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Now watch this, because this is what I really want you to see. I'm not really after this text, I'm after a point. When Simon Peter saw it, when he saw what had happened to him on the next level and the blessing, this is not a problem now. He saw the blessing that God was pouring out on his life. Instead of dancing, shouting, falling out in the floor, talking in tongues, and just having a spiritual conniption, he fell down at Jesus' knees saying, "Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord." Isn't that a weird reaction to a great blessing? He is now taking the lead, and instead of him taking the lead, he's rejecting the opportunity. Because sometimes life will offer you a blessing, but because you still perceive yourself as being in the back, you're not ready to receive the blessing on this next level of life. Not because of external conflict, because now everything externally is going well. But just because things are going well externally doesn't mean that things are going well internally. I'm telling you that your gift can take you some places that your mind isn't ready for, that sometimes your character isn't ready for, that your self-perception isn't ready for, and you will reject the blessing and say, just leave me alone. Leave me back here washing my nets, because now you've gone and done it. You've scared me. The Bible says, for he was astonished, and all that were with him, at the draught of fishes which were taken. And so was all James and John and the sons of Zebedee, which were partners with Simon. And Jesus said unto him, fear not, from henceforth thou shalt catch men. And when they had brought their ships to land, they forsook all and followed him. The whole problem was fear. Fear of the next level. Fear of taking the lead. Fear of going forward. Now, I want to talk about some things with fear. I want to talk about two different dimensions of fear that I want you to understand before you take the lead. I want to talk about the fear of failure. The fear of failure. Because many people don't go as far as they should go because they have apprehension that they won't reach their goal. So rather than to try and risk failing, they just say, I'm going to stay down here where I'm at and not try because I might lose. I might lose. I'm not going to try anything. I'm not going to own anything because I might lose it. I'm not going to buy a house because I might lose it. I'm not going to get married because I might get a divorce. I'm not going to apply for that position because I might not get it. That's madness, but that's how it is. Internal conflict. Have you given yourself permission to succeed? Or are you so intimidated by the fear of failure that you don't try? On the other side of it is the fear of success. Being afraid that you will reach your goal, but some disaster may result. These are mixed emotions. I want it, but I don't want all the stuff that comes with it. I don't want to deal with all the problems that come with it. I don't want to deal with all the disasters. I don't want to deal with the pressures that come with it. I can't handle it. I'm going to stay on this lower level. And when you do that and you reject God's opportunity, you are left with nothing but the hope of magic. Magic is when I'm just going to stay down here where it's comfortable, but some kind of magical way I'm believing that I'm going to get a blessing up here while I'm staying down here. You can't do it. It's like believing God that you're going to get pregnant and not gain weight. I want the baby, but I don't want the pregnancy. I don't want the weight. I don't want the stretch marks. I don't want to throw up in the morning. No, all of that goes along with the process. And if you will allow anyone, anything, any voice on the inside to talk you out of this moment, you will forfeit it and be stuck washing your nets when there's a great drought of fish waiting you if you have the courage to believe. What really stops us from taking the lead and coming to the forefront a lot of times is not the lack of talent, it's not the lack of resources, sometimes it's not the lack of education. I've been amazed at the people I have met who were highly educated and failing. Highly educated and failing. Highly educated and homeless. I worked with a guy who has a doctorate in economics and is washing cars. Just can't seem to get it together. So education alone is not the solution. I'm for education. I think it's important. It's a good thing, or we wouldn't have built the school next door. I think it's very important. But I have seen people educated and stuck. I've worked in penal institutions and seen people who were very gifted and incarcerated. Just because somebody is incarcerated or homeless doesn't mean that they don't have talent. In fact, I've seen people with less talent than you doing more than you. And until you're willing to look that in the face and say, what am I doing to sabotage my own success of moving to the next level, you'll never get there. Until you walk, and this is what causes jealousy and envy. When you look and you meet other people who have less to work with than you, and yet they're in higher positions than you, you can either become jealous or bitter, or you can begin to challenge yourself to say, what is wrong with my belief systems that's stopping me from going to the next level in this area? Okay, and I want to deal with some irrational beliefs that will stop you from moving up to the next level. This is not about money necessarily. This is not about prestige necessarily. This is about progress. Because it's a shame to live long and have no progress. I want to have progress in every area of my life. I want to see progress in parenting. I want to see progress in my relationship with my wife. I want to see, if I'm going to go to work every day, I want to see progress. I've been washing these toilets for 27 years. At least let me be the manager of the toilet washers. In 27 years, I want to move up. Anybody, maybe it's wrong. Is there anybody in here that wants to move up? Okay. I'm going to point out some things that may be hindering you from reaching that, and some of you may already be reaching it. You may have already mastered this. Just endure this review, okay? I'm going to point out 6 things, 6 irrational belief patterns that may be hindering you from going to the next level. One of them is undeserving. I do not deserve the good measure that flows with success. I just don't deserve it. I just can't see myself as being in this position. I don't deserve it. This often comes from things that people said to you or about you. And they have convinced you, they programmed you to see yourself in a limited parameter. And so when you see opportunities beyond how you've been programmed, you reject it because you don't feel like you're deserving of it. The other one is beyond undeserving is ordinary. I do not want to stand apart or be different. I want to fit in. You'd be surprised at the people, because they have a belief system that holds on to being ordinary, they will not take the lead. I am afraid that I will become a target, and you will. I want to let me say that to you too, in the name of honesty. If you take the lead, you will become a target. But just because they're shooting at you doesn't mean they shot you. In fact, some of you should rejoice in the fact that somebody has emptied out their quiver of arrows shooting at you, and you are still here. And that person that wouldn't go out and do what you did for fear of being shot at didn't recognize that because of your faith and your convictions, you have been able to pass through the arrows that have been shot at you and survive. But you have to have courage to do that, and you have to get rid of your fear to do that, and you have to be able to see arrows zinging by you, people hating on you, controversy rising all around you, and you have to say like Job, though he slay me, yet shall I trust him. The third belief system that may be hindering you is social change. I fear rejection, loneliness, or claims that I have changed or sold out. I don't want to be rejected by my sociological environment. And this is very, very important to minorities. Because when you are a minority, there is a clannish survival mechanism that fits in. No matter what kind of minority you are in any situation. I was in Mexico a while ago, and a gentleman came up and said to me, if you're going to rent a boat, because I like to rent boats and go fishing, he said, if you're going to rent a boat for me because I'm an American. Because in that setting, he was a minority. And the idea is we have to stick together. Watch out for we's. Because people will control you with a we. And you will miss your opportunity at what may be the best deal for you, trying to be loyal to the we. It's what we teach our children about peer pressure. And all of a sudden, in order to fit in your sociological environment, you passed up the promotion. You wouldn't buy the house that was the best deal for you because it moved you out of the neighborhood that you were defined by. You passed up the position that you wanted to take because now your girlfriends won't like you because you're now managing the girls you used to run with. And so in order to fit in, you're going to stay in the seat that I started this sermon from rather than to take your rightful place behind this rostrum because you want the people you're sitting beside to like you and accept you. Oh. And you don't want to be a sellout. Oh my. The next one I want to deal with is fleeting. My success will be temporal and I will not be able to sustain it. You have performance anxiety. You're afraid that it won't last. It won't last. Good things won't last. You don't want to go out on a date because if you go out on the date and you start a relationship and things start going well, it's not going to last. I didn't know it going to last. It didn't last before. It didn't last with Fred. It didn't last with Jim. It's not going to last. I'm not going to take this position because if I get in this position, I may lose this job. It's not going to last. I'm not going to go back to school because I may not complete it. It will not last. And you have a fear that the blessing is fleeting. So you won't get back out on the boat and throw your nets again because you have already programmed yourself that nothing else exciting is ever going to happen to you again. And as I go through these belief systems, I want you to look for the ones that sound like you. Have I hit anything yet? The next one I want to talk about is perfectionism. I will have to behave as if I am perfect and I am not. I believe this was part of Peter's problem. When he saw the power of God to bless him, he recognized the power of God to destroy him. Think about that. When he saw the power of God to bless him, he recognized the power of God to destroy him. He said, get out of here, Jesus. Depart from me. Why? Because I know I've got imperfections. And I don't want to get in the light because somebody might see them. And so I'm going to be secretly talented. I'm going to sing at home. I'm going to leave the church and say what they ought to do and what somebody ought to say and what somebody ought to write a book about that and somebody ought to get up and say something. And I'm going to drive home locking my treasure up inside of me because I am imprisoned by my imperfections. And I don't want anybody to know that I'm not perfect. Even though I'm good at this, I'm weak at that. Peter said, look, you've made me a great fisherman, but I'm a sinful man. Go. I reject the opportunity to be blessed because I know something about myself that I don't want anybody else to know, and I'm more concerned about the security of my reputation than I am my progress.
Now, I believe you have seen the video. There's more to come, part 3, and the grand finale, part 4. Don't miss it. If this is your first time watching us, please click the subscribe button and the bell icon so that whenever we drop our videos, it will notify you. Like, share, subscribe. We'll come to you next week. Thank you for watching.